What's happening? Hey, Mike, I don't know if you know it, but I think I think that right now, Indy, they have a chance to win this game, but Halliburton he does not look good. With the injury to that calf, I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know. I think if he doesn't get hurt in that last game,
Unless Siakam just goes insane and loses his mind, and
yeah. I mean, possibly. So I don't know. I keep thinking that they have a chance, and maybe if a lot of the other role players step up since they're at home, then maybe that can happen. But right now, I don't know. They're doing well right now, but it's all about how they finish the game out. So this is just the first half. So anyway, if y'all don't know, I'm Big Temp. That is my co-host, Mr. Mike LaFleur, aka Game Tight. We are the Cave Cast, and one of the things that makes our channel a little different than some channels is we are a father and son duo. And the thing about that is that as a father and son duo, a lot of times people have differences of opinions and they have differences as far as teams that they like. Like my son, Mike LaFleur, is a big-time Lakers fan. I am a big-time Celtics fan. We do agree on the Chiefs. Don't you do that. Why would you do that?
I had to, man. I had to.
Anyway, myself and him, we're both Chiefs fans. The one thing I will say is the difference between our show and other shows is a lot of times when they have somebody on, they don't have that kind of personality as far as relationships go and how they look at their co-host and how they feel about what they're, as far as respect goes and how they view things. A lot of times they don't view things the same. And a lot of times we don't either. But we do agree on one particular subject. And that is LeBron is a bitch.
Okay, hold on. Just to let y'all know, I didn't see that coming. Like, that was not scripted at all, bro.
I'm sorry.
You gotta chill. You gotta
I'm sorry.
chill. You gotta
I'm sorry.
chill.
Look. I was always told, you call
Let me
a spade
fix
a
my
spade.
camera, man.
You call a spade a spade. You say exactly how you feel. Let the cards fall where they may. Simple as that, right? If I lied to you, and then later on you found out that I lied to you, you were going to not respect me as much, right? Just for the simple fact that I lied to you. If I don't know you and I give you the straight up honest opinion about something, I would hope that you would respect the fact that I gave you a straight up honest opinion, even if we don't know each other very well. It's just an opinion. And just like anything, no matter what it is, what I just said is an opinion. Doesn't mean it's true. It just means on my end here, I believe that. Now, I've heard you talk in the past, so I just assumed, based upon past assessments, you felt
I'm
the same
fucking
way.
dead.
So, the only reason I bring this up is because you remember the whole thing we did the other week, and I said, where's LeBron's friends? How come they ain't stopping him? Why does he keep doing this? He's tarnishing his legacy. Just accept what you have. Quit trying to make it more. Quit trying to change the narrative. Fuck your agenda. Appreciate the fact that you are considered one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But no, this motherfucker has to go on and now trying to change the whole narrative about ring culture. I didn't even know it was a thing called ring culture. Have you ever called it ring culture? Has it ever been called ring culture to you? This is the first I'm
You know
ever
what's
hearing
funny?
of this.
You know what's funny? But you know what kills me about that whole thing is that like when I argue about LeBron and Jordan and the whole fucking GOAT debate, the
Yeah.
rings are like the last thing I bring up.
No, because you're absolutely right. Because it's
Because it's
not the end all
obvious.
be. It's not the
Well,
end all be all,
well,
but it is.
well. First of
It
all, it's obvious.
yes,
It's obvious. That's not. That's an easy argument. Like it's kind of. It's like being lazy. If that's how you're gonna argue. Is Mike has more rings.
yes. It is kind of it's low
That's
hanging
kind of
fruit.
lazy.
It's
It's
low
a
hanging
lazy. It's
fruit.
a lazy way to make an argument. Yeah, it's a lazy way to make an argument. And like I said, more rings doesn't doesn't necessarily negate to being a better player. Because here's the
Exactly.
thing: there's a lot of players that have more rings than Jordan,
Of course.
but that doesn't mean that they were better than Jordan.
Of
We
course. I
know
mean,
that
let's
because
look at
when people love bringing up Robert Horry. He's got more
eggs.
rings than Jordan.
He's got
Are y'all
7.
gonna sit here and say he's better? Yeah. Are y'all gonna sit here and say he's better than Michael Jordan because he has more rings? No.
Nope.
Just like how LeBron fans, just the same way like LeBron fans think LeBron is better than Kobe. Kobe has more rings, but LeBron fans still think he's better than Kobe. And that's
Yes.
fine. If that's what y'all think, that's fine. But that just proves the argument, or that just proves my point that it's not just about the rings. I don't know how much I got to stress that. It's not just the rings. It's the thing about Jordan that I think was different compared to everybody else, especially when it came to Wilt, Bill Russell, and not so much Kareem, because Kareem would be the one that you could compare like individually. But
Yeah.
like Wilt and Bill, the thing with MJ was he had the complete package. He had rings, individual stats, team success, blah 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 blah. Those other two didn't have that. They had either it was like the opposite.
Yeah.
Wilt had the individual success,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
While Bill had the team success. He didn't necessarily have the individual success, but he had the team success. Mike had it all. So,
Yeah.
and so did Kareem, to be fair.
And you know
So,
what? You want to know the one thing that you
yeah.
just said that makes it even more of a important, kind of fact to just kind of push it home a little bit more. Here's a few things that people don't understand when it comes to being the GOAT. The people have to love you. That's the thing about being the GOAT. More people have to love you. If you look at Muhammad Ali, most people say he's the greatest boxer of all time, even though he lost some fights, right? But why do they say he's the GOAT? It's because of how the people responded to him, how he made them feel when they got ready to watch a fight, how he made them feel as a people, right? The excitement, the the whole thing about being the best or striving for greatness, the failures that came with it before he got to the mountaintop. That's the thing about being the GOAT. The people choose. You can't call yourself the GOAT as you did, back in 2016, win a championship, and you talk about how it's team success. In later times, you know, championships are based off of team success, right? That's a team accomplishment. But I quote, when you beat Golden State, you said that right there made me the greatest player of all time. You didn't say that made us the greatest team of all time. You said that made me the greatest player of all time.
And you know what's funny? Speaking of that, you remember I think it was, what game was that? Was it 2K? I think it was like 2K12 or 13 or something like that.
Okay.
Where they had Mike on like you know how 2K used to do those like short little previews before. and it'll
Oh yeah,
have
yeah, 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 yeah.
like Mike was talking on one of them, and he was like, uh, what did he say? He said people always talk about who's the greatest player of all time, and then he said, what we need to talk about is who's the greatest team of all time.
That's right.
That's what he said. And he said, is it going to be the 91 Bulls? Remember he was saying the 91 Bulls or
Exactly.
the 92 with, against what was that?
Oh, that being
So they
against
played Magic, they played the
Portland,
Lakers, and then they played the Portland, and then
yeah,
they
and then
played the
Phoenix,
Suns.
Phoenix
So,
Suns.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
here's
he
he
was
was
stressing on. He said, "Oh,
team,
he." That's what he
team.
said. Yeah, he said. That's what did he say? He said people argue about the greatest player of all time. He said that's nonsense or something like that. What people need to be arguing about is who's the greatest team of all time. Or
Exactly.
so, it was something along those lines. I know
And
that for
and you
sure.
know what
But
the fucked up thing about this is that I don't want to bring this up, but you know what? This dude keeps getting in front of a camera and saying this stupid ass shit, and I gotta call it out. And look, I'm gonna put this in perspective. We ain't the best podcast on YouTube, right? But the reason why people get into this is to voice their opinion, see if others out there have like minds, create a community, people who want to give their own input as well. You know, we never claim to be the best because we know we ain't the best, but we strive for that. And as long as it may take us, that's fine. But most of the time, people get into this and they do it so they can create some kind of revenue off of it, right? Here's the thing. If I was to ever come out and say we're the best podcast on YouTube, I would have to have something to show for that to prove it, right? And most of these guys, there's a little thing that they get the little plaques, right? The YouTube plaques for however many followers or viewers and, how many views and this and that, right? Well, I ain't got one of those. So how can I say I'm one of the best if I don't have the hardware, or I can't even say that I'm in the GOAT conversation and podcast if I don't have the hardware to match it? Especially when
yeah,
there's others out there who have more of those. Am I wrong? That's
Nope.
that's what
You
we
gotta have
do this
some.
for.
You gotta have something to back it up. And here's the thing: it's not that we're not saying that. Well, at least for me,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying that LeBron doesn't have necessarily anything to back it up because obviously he has
He
rings.
does. He does.
He has stats. He has these things. Like, cool.
Yes.
But like, for me, the ultimate thing when it's really simple for me. The ultimate thing of why I think, and I'm a Kobe guy,
Yeah.
hardcore. But the ultimate reason why I think MJ is the GOAT is because he did it in a very short amount of time. And the peak, I still don't think anybody's matched that peak on both sides of the court, being dominant offensively and defensively. I could argue, I could make an argument. Now, definitive, no, because there were obviously other better, like good defensive players in the league at the time.
Yeah.
But I can make an argument that I don't think it's an argument that Mike was the best offensive player in the league his entire run with the Bulls, right?
Yeah. True.
And I could make an argument he was the best defensive player in his entire run with the Bulls. But I said an argument defensively because obviously you got Scotty, obviously you got players like Hakeem, but
Yeah.
you can make that argument.
You can
It's
say
really that
I
simple.
have an I have an
Yeah,
argument for it
I
because
have an
this
argument.
man,
I have
he won a defensive player of the year the same year he won an
time
MVP and a scoring title.
nine-time All First defense. Yeah, he's a nine-time All First defensive player,
So I can
defensive player of
make
the
the
year. Scotty
argument
ain't
that,
got that. I can make the argument.
but that's not definitive. It's not definitive that he is. It's just saying
Definitive.
I can
Yeah,
make the argument. The same thing about people who are fans of LeBron. You can make the argument for him being the GOAT. I can give you that.
can.
But when
Oh
you
yeah,
tell
people.
me
Yeah,
when you tell me that without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, there's no question that this man that you guys swing off his nuts, you tell me that he is the GOAT. And I'm like, No, you can't say that because there has not been one time in an era that he was in there that he was the most dominant player, and it showed from his championships that he won at that time. When Mike was in, the only time anybody won a championship in the 90s was when he left. He retired. That's the only time. On LeBron's watch, there's multiple motherfuckers who played him
Look,
in the finals and they won a championship.
and
That's the
it kills me.
problem.
You know what kills me about that too, though, is that like people will bring up like, you know, look at who LeBron has played. You got multiple different champions.
I
You
get
got
it.
Steph. You got KD.
They weren't champions
Here's
until they
the.
beat him. They weren't
But
champions
that's what
until
I'm
they beat
saying.
him.
I'm like, look, I get what you're trying to say, but at
Oh,
the
except for
same
Tim
time,
Duncan. Except for
those
Tim Duncan.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, you can say that because they actually won championships. The
That's the
dudes that
problem.
Mike played didn't win championships, and most of that comes from playing him. So like,
He was dominant. There's an era
yeah,
of
like,
dominance that Michael
and then
has that LeBron does not have, and it shows from the hardware. And if we want to be honest about the GOAT conversation, because we say that championships are a team accomplishment, okay, then during that time that Michael was winning championships, how many MVP scoring titles, first team all defense, and finals MVPs does he have during the whole run that he made from the time he came into the league, the 90s, and before he retired? How many does he
we
have?
ain't even gonna talk about. I'm gonna be honest with you. We ain't even gonna talk about that amount
When
of
you say
MVPs he
exactly
got
when
robbed of too.
yes, now wouldn't you say that that right there should declare who would be the greatest player of all time, because not only does he have the
Bro,
team accomplishment with the rings,
I
but
can
he
name.
also has the individual accolades to go along with it over
I
the season.
I got a hardware. I got a hardware stat that he has that alone I can make the argument. 10 scoring titles in a row.
Yeah.
You and look. People be talking about, oh, MJ only has that because he shot so many times. Okay, listen. You can. Okay, fine. You can have that. Here's the problem I have with that. Why ain't nobody else doing it?
And why did it lead to wins? It led
Exactly.
to
Like when people
championships.
Yeah, when people be like MJ was a ball hog. Like I seen this thing that said MJ was a ball hog, and I was like, don't forget to add that MJ was a shot chucking, efficient ball hog that
Exactly.
won.
Volume
Add
shooter.
that on there.
Volume shooter who was
This
efficient.
is what's unique. This is what's unique about MJ in terms of his efficiency as a volume scorer. And like when people talk about Kobe not being efficient, which it's not true, y'all. It's not true. But
Yeah.
Mike compared to Kobe was just on another level, obviously. But the thing that separated Jordan with his volume scoring compared to other volume scorers like Tracy, AI, Kobe, is that Mike was still shooting 51, 52, 53% from the field.
Exactly.
Those other dudes, especially like AI and like McGrady, those dudes are like in the low 40s, like in
Yeah.
terms of field goal percentage, and he probably even lower in like true percentage, true field goal percentage and stuff like that. So like they were like way lower, like they weren't as accurate or efficient from the field as Mike was, even though Mike was shooting more.
And
Even those dudes,
when you say
you know what I'm
that,
saying? So
the thing about it is that Mike did something that no other player at the shooting guard position ever did before him. He was a volume shooter who was efficient, like you were saying, and
and
he
one, that's the
and won, because that knock on Mike was what? When before he won a championship, they said he'll never win because he shoots too much. Big time
yeah,
scorers
it was a style of
would
play.
never
Yeah.
win. His style of play would not win. And he did what they said he couldn't do. As a matter of fact, Mike did everything they said he couldn't do. Everything they said he couldn't do. They said he wasn't the number one pick in the draft. And he showed them why he should have been. Right? He came out to a team that was horrible. Matter of fact, they want to talk about Cleveland. Cleveland was never as bad as Chicago was at the time he got drafted to them. If you go back in history and look at how bad that Chicago Bulls team was before he got there, whew.
At the minimum, they were
and for years.
At the minimum.
But yes, but I'm saying for years, though, they were horrible. They were horrible. Nobody went to Bulls games. Think about it, right? Nobody really went to Bulls games.
I think when he got there, they had like an old George Gervin and
yes, the George Gervin was
Orlando Woolridge and all that kind of shit.
The rest of the team was out fucking snorting coke, you know, and everything else. Like he said, he was a rookie coming into a team full of grown ass men who pretty much had said, you know, this is my retirement home spot. You know, once I'm done here, I'm done, right? Iceman said he was done. That was his last year playing with that first year with Jordan. So all I can say is that when we look at the whole totality of what makes the GOAT, right? Let's be honest and say there's an argument to be made for Kobe. There's an argument to be made for Michael Jordan. There's an argument to be made for LeBron. And when you start taking those arguments and you start compiling the info.
Yeah, because you're nitpicking. Yeah, you're nitpicking, obviously.
So therefore, let's compile the info. Let's see who has this. Let's see who has that. And let's look at their career totality and say to ourselves, okay, if LeBron, if his peak was here, and during that time, his peak was undoubtedly the greatest player in the league, and he did this and won so many championships and was so dominant that, you know, basically it was like you weren't going to win against him. I could take your word for the argument. But when I could even do that for Kobe, when Kobe was in the league and they started winning, he hit a peak, right? And they'll say, well, that was Shaq's peak. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but without Kobe, that team doesn't win. Without Kobe, that team doesn't win. And Kobe wasn't just a sidekick. He was, I said this last week. I want you guys
to bring it up.
I said it off air. Kobe was not a sidekick. And I'll get into that why I say that. Kobe was Batman and Shaq was Superman. When you have two alpha males like that, they both are badass in their own right. And the thing about being a badass on both sides, if you've never watched the Justice League or nothing like that, you wouldn't understand. But for those of you who do understand what I'm talking about, Batman and Superman are co-leaders. They're co-leaders of that team. Superman is all the brawn, all the power.
Yeah, he's the muscle.
He's the muscle. The most dominant force in the world. Batman, however, is the most dominant up here. And he understands psychology, and he understands people's, ability or their reasoning. He understands everything, and he uses that better than anybody else. So the thing about him is that he is the Batman. He is a hero in his own right. He's just different. Badass. Now, Kobe, you could say his height or his prime, he won 3 championships in a row. Shaq leaves.
He should have did it twice.
Yeah, he leaves, goes somewhere else, and then he wins another 2 without Shaq, without a Superman, to prove his dominance as, hey, I'm still that motherfucker. So he does that. Now here's the argument for Mike. Mike comes into the league. Mike is like a Spider-Man, right? He's a Spider-Man. And the thing about it is he's pretty much all on his own. He does everything on his own. Protecting his court, going out, doing some of the most amazing shit you've ever seen. He's flying through the air, throwing up, acrobatic shit the same way Spider-Man does. Nobody's ever seen before. We are in awe of this motherfucker, right? But the thing about it is that he got him a Pippen. And Pippen is a sidekick. People want to tell me about how great Pippen was. He didn't win till Pippen got there. Pippen was this, Pippen was that. Let's be honest.
Pippen ain't better than Kobe, goddammit.
Pippen is a sidekick. He's the greatest sidekick in NBA history. Difference from Shaq and Kobe. Kobe and Shaq, they were two heroes playing on the same team, and they were both leaders. They were able to coexist for a while with each other. Eventually, the band broke up. But Mike is out there by himself and finally gets a Pippen. And Pippen is the equivalent of Robin. He does all the little minor shit that he needs to do to take all the little extra heat off of Spidey, off of Mike. And he keeps it that way, and he understands his role. See, Kobe ain't never been a sidekick. So you can't say that. Now, to get back to my point, if you take the totality of what Mike did during his run with just a sidekick, right? There is no doubt about it. What this man did was amazing because nobody else gave them a chance. Like I said, they said Mike's style of play would never work. They said it would never work.
And like I said, Mike did it. And this is why we have the Mahomes, and this is why I always say this is why we have the Mahomes and Tom Brady debate. Because Mahomes was on a trajectory based off what he was doing in the short amount of time he was doing it. And if he stayed on that trajectory, what he would accomplish in a shorter amount of time compared to Tom Brady. Exactly. That's the freaking argument Mahomes has on Brady.
Now,
is because he has a chance. He has a chance to eclipse that in a shorter amount of time. It's like when you go to a job. If somebody can do a better job than you,
yep,
more time, what happens?
Yeah,
you gonna lose your the year no more.
Yeah, you gonna lose your spot.
It's gonna be the other dude. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. So like, it's as simple as that.
The thing about it is that people try to act like LeBron did this all by himself. He didn't. He had a D Wade. He had a
yeah. Nobody did it by themselves. I hate that argument. It's so stupid.
He had a Bosch. I mean, everybody has teammates, and that's the thing. I get what LeBron is saying to an extent that it's a team game, right?
That's obvious.
It's a team accomplishment. Man, let me tell you something right now. Indy is kicking Oklahoma City's ass right now.
Oh, and really? I'm not even keeping it up. Let me go to it real quick.
64-42. And they went on a run at the end of this.
They definitely went on a run because it was just like 30. It was just like 32-33 the last time.
Yeah. So
they just gotta keep it up. They just gotta keep it up.
Now, what I'm saying is that when it comes down to it, we have to understand logically that basketball, one player can impact everything. Unlike football.
More so than any other sport.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. Unlike football.
Because you're playing both sides of the ball.
Exactly. Now, with football, the reason why quarterback is so important is because the ball's in their hands all the time. That's why.
Anybody else? Yeah.
So in basketball, one player like a LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan, you get that one key player, it changes the whole thing for your team. Like you said, because the impact is different. The impact with that one key player changes it. Why do you think everybody was like, the Miami Heat are the favorite to win it once they got fucking, LeBron? There's a reason why. Because of the impact. The impact that one player has. That's why these guys are judged differently than
Yeah,
everybody else.
especially when you combine that huge impact player with other huge impact players.
Exactly. And so when you have that, that changes everything. Whatever you whatever the criteria is for you to be considered the GOAT, the thing you have to remember is if both are even as far as, athletic ability or, their field goal percentage or the amount of rebounds they have and all this other shit, then you know what the rest of it you have to do is? Let's go to what they did. Let's go to the accolades. How many MVPs did they have? How many final MVPs, if they ever got any? How many fucking times did they win, defensive player of the year? How many times did they win the scoring title? How many times did they win or led the league in assists? Or how many times did they lead the league in steals? Or wins as far as they go? How many times did their
Dad,
team win 60 plus games?
that's the reason why I don't have Kareem as the GOAT, because he only has two Finals MVPs.
And you know what's funny about that?
Just saying, like,
A lot of the
yeah,
reason why Kareem was
you got
never
six
talked about.
championships. You got
Yes,
six championships, but you were the best player on majority of them. So, like,
Kareem's whole career, including his high school, college, and NBA career, is something I don't think we will ever see again. Right
oh yeah, I agree. He's the
now,
best college player of all time, in my
but the
opinion. I don't think it's
problem,
close.
the problem with it is if you don't go totality for his whole career, and you look at what he did, everything, there's no denying if you were to put that in front of somebody, they would say, "Damn, this guy did every
That
fucking
I would
thing."
agree with that for
Right
sure. Yeah, like
now,
totality wise, yeah, I would definitely
but the
agree.
problem is that the reason why Kareem is not looked up at as the GOAT is because, like Mike said, there are things that happen, like two Finals MVPs, six championships, and
That means
then
4 times you won the best player on your team,
four times you weren't
at
the
least in
best
my
player,
opinion.
or at least not considered the best player during that
Right.
that championship run. Now, on top of all of that, Kareem did not get along well with the media. So one of the things
Oh
that
yeah,
hurt
true.
Kareem was his ability, basically, or inability to open up to the media, to be friendly to the media. Now, the thing about it was at that time, you got to remember this is civil rights, struggle,
Right. I don't really
things
hold
like
that against
that.
him though.
So he just kind of didn't like some of the shit that was going on. Wilt Chamberlain, the biggest knock on Wilt, he couldn't beat fucking Bill Russell enough times. He could not beat certain teams enough
Well,
times.
it wasn't even just that. It wasn't
That
even
was his
just that
biggest
though. He
knock.
was a no, but he was a no show. It wasn't even that he
Yeah.
just lost. He was a no show in the finals, like a complete no show.
And that's
You
what I'm
want to talk about
saying.
LeBron? That's what him and LeBron got in common as far as like obviously LeBron has been better like in totality in the finals, but like Wilt was not good in the finals, bro.
Underachieved as far as
Underachiever like a mug
no, I won't say underachiever, but I will say he underachieved
in
for
the
what
finals
the
though.
expectation was
Yeah.
for
I agree.
him
Yeah.
when he got there. And like I told somebody, I said the one thing that people don't talk about is that Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron James are in the GOAT talk, but they both have one thing in common. They both have a losing record in the finals.
Look,
They're the only ones in the GOAT talk who have a losing record in the finals.
it ain't even just that for me. Look, like I said, I keep shit simple. You can't have 2011 on your resume
That's
and then
true.
have me say in the same breath, you're better than Michael Jordan, who never came close to doing anything like that in the finals. I'm sorry.
But the thing of
That's an automatic. You're automatically disqualified from that
but not
alone.
only but not only that, he also has a sweep in the finals. Think about it.
They won, don't he?
Yes. If I remember right, I know the 2007 Spurs swept
Yeah, they
them.
got swept.
And people can tell me, well, they weren't as good as the Spurs and this and that. Okay, well, what about 2000 and I think it was 2009? Wasn't 2009 the team that had 66 wins? The Cavs had 66 wins that year. I think you can
It
look it
was
up
something
for me.
like that. It was something like that. They had like 60 something wins. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know that for a fact. Yeah.
yeah. So there's these things that you tell me. They add into his list of underachievements, right? You're the best team in the league.
What?
Was I right?
No, well, I looked up how many times he's been swept in the finals. It was twice. So once by the Spurs, and then
Oh,
Golden State did it in 2018.
okay, so he's been swept twice, and I don't give a fuck if he didn't have Kyrie. You don't get swept. I don't
Hey,
care.
look, this is how I look at it. This is how I look at it. AI was able to beat the Lakers once.
And that team was
Yeah,
nowhere close to fucking what
yeah, they
fucking
got Shaq and
Cleveland
Kobe, guys.
was.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can't really use that as an excuse, dog. I'm
So,
sorry, y'all.
and I and
Just
if I
one
remember
game.
and if I remember right, they did have a team where they went 66 and
As a matter of
66
fact,
wins.
you do know that was the only loss they had that entire playoff run. He ruined it for them.
Yeah, didn't they
They
go
could have broke
15,
the record. They were
15
16 and 1.
16 and 1. That's
16 and
right.
1. Yeah, they
Yeah,
should have
something
went
like that.
undefeated that whole playoff run, and then he beat them in the finals.
I can just
So
tell you that there are things that make up how I view the GOAT.
maybe it was 16 and 1. Yeah.
And the problem is that LeBron has put enough bad bad fucking resumes, a bad resume together when it comes to certain shit. And those losses, they mean something.
And
They
like
mean
here,
something.
at least, and this is for me. So like, obviously the losses mean something, but it's about listen. If he would have played like LeBron James,
Exactly.
like how we expect him to in the 2011 finals, and they lose, okay, it happens. Okay, the
Yeah.
problem is that for me, you can't play like that and then lose, and then like expect people to give you the benefit of the doubt. It's one thing to lose and go all out. It's another to lose and play like complete dog shit
But do you
and way
know
beneath your expectations, bro. That's a
what
completely
you
different scenario.
what you just said, I I don't know if anybody's ever thought about it though like that. What
No,
you just said,
it's the truth.
it's perfect though. Think
Truth.
about this. It's perfect. Think about this. LeBron got on here capping about how it's a team sport. And if they lose, it's because the team failed. In that 2011 finals, everybody else showed up.
Hey, if LeBron, hey,
Everybody else
if
showed
he
up.
played,
Wade showed up. Bosh showed up. The fucking bitch showed up. The only person that didn't show up was him.
if he would have just played to his normal self, like he did in the regular season. Same points, whatever. They would have won.
Yeah,
They were already up 2-1 at one point, weren't they? Were up 2-1 at one point.
they were up
They
2-1.
would have won that series. And a lot of those games ended like last minute. It wasn't like blowouts or nothing like that. They were like last minute close games. They would have won that series if LeBron just played like LeBron. Easy. They'd have easily won that series.
I
Like
don't
I said,
understand.
the
I don't
games
understand.
weren't like lopsided or nothing like that. They were close games, so it wasn't
I
like they
don't.
were getting blown out.
My thing is why are people skating over the fact that his resume has a lot of fucking flaws in it when it comes to winning? And listen,
Oh,
I get what Mike lost to the Boston Celtics. Okay, he lost to
yeah.
the Boston
That's part of
Celtics.
his. You know what's
It's
funny?
part
That's
of his,
literally part of his journey. That's
and
literally part of his journey.
that's why I said that's what makes you the GOAT. When people fucking look at you and they see your failures and they accept it because they realize that the journey to get to where you got to was the whole point. It's the
The most.
fucking journey. But with
We know we had
LeBron
that
fans,
conversation.
huh?
Go ahead. I
But
don't want to.
the journey is what it was about. With LeBron fans, they tell us as Jordan fans that we act like Jordan only played for 6 years. No, motherfucker, you think that shit. We only talk about certain things that make up his championships. I've always talked about how he lost in the fucking first round of the playoffs to the Boston Celtics, but had 63 points dropped in the Garden. Michael never beat the Celtics when Larry Bird was there. Never. Let me tell you why. I'm a fan of the fucking Celtics. I've been a fan for years. I didn't want him to beat my Celtics, but god damn did I enjoy the fucking show he put on. The show
Hey,
he put on was something else.
and you know what's funny? We had this conversation. Remember how I said one of the most gangster shit that MJ did is when he came out of retirement the first time.
Mhm.
He went back. I think he played like 16 games with the Bulls or some
Yeah,
shit like that.
yeah.
It was like the later half of the season.
17 games, something like that.
It was something like that. Yeah, he comes back. They play Orlando, get their ass beat, and part of the reason why they lost was because of MJ.
Yeah,
I have no issue saying that they
yeah.
lost in large part because of him.
Do
What
you
did he
remember
do?
do you remember what was said by Nick Anderson at the end of
Oh yeah,
that
it was about his
series?
jersey number. It was about
He
his
said
yeah, yeah,
45 ain't 23.
yeah,
Michael remembered that
exactly.
shit. Michael
And you know what's
remembered that
funny?
shit.
This is what Mike did. This is what Mike did. He said, "Okay, cool." Came back, got bigger. That's when he started bulking up.
Yeah,
They went and got Rodman to handle fucking Shaq. Went and played. Not only did they come back and then win the most games in NBA
man.
history with a 72-10 record, or yeah, whatever it
Yeah,
is,
72
yeah,
and 10.
72-10. So they go out and get a 72-10 record, play the fucking Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was the Eastern Conference Finals, but I know they played them, and then swept them, and then proceeded to go on and win a three-peat. Come on, Doug. It don't get no more G than that, bro. That's what it's about.
I want to tell you
Fail,
that
you get back. You fail, you get back up, and then you go dominate, bro. And that's exactly what he did. Nobody's done that like that. The nigga three-peated twice, dog. You
he
can't. Come
three-peated
on, man.
twice.
Three-peated twice. Come on, man.
And the
You
and
can't.
he
You
and
can't
he
go against that.
no. And the best thing about it is that I hear the mocking from LeBron fans. One guy even said that LeBron, he said it was basically along the lines of when LeBron called himself the GOAT, right? That right there made me the greatest player of all time. And the guy said in the comments, Mike never said he was the greatest player of all time. This guy puts on there an interview where Michael says, I'm the greatest player in the world. That is two different things. Mike may have been talking about at that time he was the greatest player in the world, but he never said of all time. So when we go and we take things and skew them out of context,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
we
about.
need to make sure we understand that what we are doing is we're being disingenuous. Big
Because
word.
Mike already said, yeah, Mike already said no multiple times he would never say he was the greatest player of all time because it disrespects the game or some shit like that, and the
Exactly. And
players
it
that he didn't get to play against and stuff like that. So
exactly. It disrespects the
he's already
players that
addressed
he's
that multiple times.
and that's why I say it does not make any fucking sense to me when I hear this bullshit and I keep hearing the same shit, the same rhetoric from fucking LeBron fans, and they want to tell me that no, he did say this. I'm like, and then when I listen to it, I'm like, he didn't say that shit. He didn't say that shit. They said, well, Mike said ring culture wasn't. It was bullshit back then too. No, he didn't. He said Bill Russell's got 11 rings. I got 6. Does that make Bill Russell a better player than me or me a better player than him? No, because the eras we never played each other. How do we
Yeah,
know? That's what he said. He said that. But
he said that. He
here's
said
the
that multiple times. I
but
don't.
here's the thing though. When the fuck did we start asking players who they thought the greatest player of all time was and where they were on that list? We didn't. The fans are the ones who make that determination. The fucking analysts are the one who made this
I'm gonna be
determination.
honest.
It wasn't the
The whole.
players.
I'm gonna be honest though. Look, I wasn't around then, so I don't know this for sure. This is just from the outside looking in. But who was even talking about the GOAT conversation before Mike though?
They weren't.
I know Will. I know
Kareem was
Will
the guy.
I know
Kareem
it was
was,
Will and Kareem kind of, but
but Kareem
maybe
never got the.
Bill. But
They never did it. They never talked about Kareem as the
that's what I
greatest
was
player of all
thinking.
time. They never did.
Like
Because
that
think
whole
about it.
GOAT moniker, the whole GOAT moniker didn't start until
It
Mike.
came up because of Mike. He was the
Yeah, that's what I
greatest
thought.
player that we had ever seen. And like I said, with Kareem, All the accolades he has, the career, even with the points and shit like that, they thought that record would never be broken, right? Because he played forever. But the problem was they didn't consider Kareem to be the greatest player of all time. Most people did not consider Kareem to be the greatest player of all time.
I thought it was mostly Will.
Most
Was
people
such a
thought Wilt was
fucking
the most athletic player and the most dominant player to ever play the game. And then here comes Shaq. That's
right.
where things changed. And so, no matter what, if you have an opinion about a player, that didn't happen anywhere else but in places like the barber shops. It didn't happen with players. It didn't happen with players. They weren't judging other players as far as that goes and then having, things like that in basketball. You know who did that? It was fucking football. Football is the ones who just recently started doing that here within the last, 15, 20
Wait,
years.
doing what? Like you talking
Saying
about?
who was the greatest player that year, who was the best players that year. They never say who's the greatest player of all time, but we do understand that Brady gets that fucking nomination because quarterbacks in the league are the ones
They
who
hold more
basically,
weight.
they hold more
To be
weight.
honest with you, I don't think this is what like when it comes to football. I always differentiate the two because who
Yes,
I think is the best football player of all time is a lot different than who I think is the GOAT in terms of
exactly,
football. Because
exactly.
Tom
Because there's
Brady, GOAT back and GOAT greatest football player of all time, or greatest of all time, but he's not the best football player. I could easily put Lawrence Taylor ahead of him. Fucking a plethora of other players that I could put ahead of him,
Jerry
or even
Rice,
Jerry Rice.
you know, guys like Barry Sanders, who
Uh,
I was my
yeah, Barry
favorite.
Sanders. Like,
But
there's
we
so
all know
many.
that Barry's not the greatest player of all time. And see, the problem is that there's separation between when it comes to football and basketball because on football you have 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense. They don't play both sides of the ball. Basketball, you do. They play both sides of the ball. That's why a
Oh,
lot of
I
guys.
stand on this. Oh, I
Yeah,
stand on this. Barry Sanders is the greatest running back of all time. I don't
to
give a fuck
me,
what
he's the greatest
nobody
running back I've
says.
ever seen. Greatest
It's
running
the
back I've ever
same
seen.
concept. He did more with less in less time.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I said the problem is that we have a bunch of people who want you to believe something. And if you don't believe what they say, then you're either foolish or ignorant. Okay, two can play that card. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. Say hello to my little friend. He has all the accolades. He has MVPs. He has Defensive Player of the Year. He has everything you could possibly want, including championships.
So funny. You know what's so funny
He's the
about the whole
greatest.
MJ thing? Bro, when they be like MJ wouldn't be able to do what he did, in the 80s and 90s like he does now, and I'm like, do y'all see what Shea is doing to the defenses now?
Exactly.
Now, put that on steroids because I'm gonna tell you something right now. Shea isn't the fucking athlete that Mike was, not even close.
No,
It's
no,
not
he's
even in the
not.
same stratosphere. Mike was way better at finishing and getting to the rim, and he was above. Not only was he better at finishing and getting to the rim, he was a above the rim kind of player as well as the
Above the rim
layups
player.
and all the right, exactly above the rim. Better defender, and who's stopping that mid range pull up with the way the game is spaced and how nobody really even guards
Yeah.
it. If Shea really wanted to, especially with the way he be getting away with these offensive push offs and shit like that, he could do that all game and couldn't nobody do shit with it.
Let me just say this.
Seriously,
You're
he could get that off every single time and couldn't nobody stop him
I
because
I
nobody knows how to defend
appreciate
it.
I appreciate the fact that people want to put him in the same category as a Kobe Bryant because they see some parts of his game and it does resemble it, but there's
The
a lot
style,
of it.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
But the problem is when we talk about players that I watched back in my day, I don't see the the ballet like I saw when I was watching
You know why?
Mike play. Well, I have
I
my
know
opinion.
why.
I have my opinion
These
why.
players, Dad, listen, I'm gonna just say it straight up. These players ain't coming up on the parks and on the blacktop no more. They playing in the goddamn AAU and in front in nice ass gyms all day,
Yeah,
playing the finesse way.
and
All
I
that
do
shit we
agree.
talking about,
I do agree.
all the shit we talking about with the whole the swagger, the ballet, the beauty of it. That shit comes from the blacktop. It don't
It
come
does.
from playing in fancy ass gyms. It
It
comes
comes,
from playing outside on hard ass cracked concrete and asphalt.
yeah, from
That's
guys
where it comes
learning,
from.
from guys putting things together to learn how, if it'll work for them. You know, I
Street
can
ball
if and
element
then
of
working on it,
it,
and then working on it, and working on it,
yeah,
and
the
working
street
on
ball
it.
element went so well with. That's why early, like especially in that like mid '90s to like early mid 2000s, it was so ingrained with each other. The street
Yeah,
ball element, like the Wicker Parks and
yeah.
it was all ingrained in it because that's where it came from. These kids ain't playing like that no more. They, it's just different now. Unfortunately, because I think it's ruined the game for the worse.
It has,
They're
and
they're
that
they're
and
going
Kobe
more for
said
a
it,
European. They're going more for a European style of play more than anything now. So,
and Kobe
hey.
said it a long time ago. And of course, LeBron capped back on it. He hopped on that bandwagon here recently about how he thinks that's running the game. I can just tell you this:
What's wrong in the game?
MAYB, AAU, guys not out there
Oh,
fucking
I
going and
agree.
playing on the
Agree
blacktop. He
though.
said the same thing. I
To an
will give him
extent,
props. I will give him
it's
props for
multiple
saying
other
it.
things. It's multiple other things, but I do think that's a big part of it. I do
But
agree.
I will say this is the way I look at the game now is completely different than when I looked at it then. And I see a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with. Like I don't agree with a lot of the 3-point shooting. I think it takes away from, you know, guys being
All
able
the
to
other parts of
develop.
the game.
Yeah, I think it takes away from that. But here's the thing. No matter what, I still love the game. I don't necessarily have to love what they've done to the game as far as how they've created different, you know, styles as far as, that I don't think necessarily work for the better. But as long as the game continues to evolve, maybe it eventually evolves back into some of the ballet I was used to seeing, right? My thoughts as far as, this goes, and I'm going to be done with this. Indy and Oklahoma City, so far, it looks like Indy's in control. They're going to win this game. I know it's a little early, third quarter, but it looks like they're in control. Now, as far as the GOAT talk, I think it needs to be done. But I also think that people need to shut the fuck up about things that we have been doing for years when it comes to players. I mean, hell, we talk about all this shit, right? Who guys who can win. And eventually, the one thing that it all boils down to, I don't give a fuck what LeBron says. He can talk about it's a team game, this is that. There's a reason why he left fucking Cleveland. There's a reason he left Cleveland.
Yeah,
He left Cleveland
yeah.
because
That's
he
what
couldn't
killed
win
me
there.
about what he said. That's why it
He
killed me
left because he,
about what he said.
yeah, he left because he couldn't win there.
If
Okay,
that was the
he
case, he
could.
would have just stayed in Cleveland and
Yes,
yeah.
but he knew he couldn't win there. So he left because he couldn't win there. And the reason why he wants to win is because he understood that winning a
I think he could
championship, huh?
if he would just. I think he could have if he grew some balls. I
It
think he could
probably
have.
would have meant more to. It probably would have meant more to him. Matter of fact,
Dad,
I'm be honest with you. If he'd have won,
he
if
could have
he'd have
won
just
in
stayed
Cleveland.
there and won, if he'd have just stayed there and won, a lot of people wouldn't give him as much shit as they do right now.
You know what pisses me off about that year he left? Because they had just got Antoine Jameson.
Yeah,
Bro, you should have stayed and built something with him. Antoine Jameson, now look,
I want to say
was
he
he the
was averaging
greatest
20.
thing?
I want to say he was averaging
Yes, he
about
was
20
a
points a game
easy,
that
he
season.
was an easy 20 a game. Easy. Easy.
Yeah,
You could have built something with him. Do what it's like it's the kind of the same situation with Paul Gasol and Kobe.
yeah,
Kobe was kind of, or Paul Gasol was kind of he was a good player, but he wasn't quite there yet. He
yeah.
needed that push. Kobe gave him that push. You could have did the same thing for Jameson. He could have helped you get a championship there. And now the whole conversation about you has changed.
Like
But
I
you
said,
left after the first year of him being there.
It's all about
Stupid.
what is important to you. And LeBron at that time, and what was important to him was winning. I mean, hell, you tell me that rings ain't everything, or that doesn't determine the greatness of a player. But then you turn around and have a secret meeting between you and D Wade because you got to stop Kobe. That's why you guys formed a super team.
And then you missed out, and then you lost. You lost, and you lost two playoff games where you were expected to win, and you had two chances to play Kobe, and you still didn't do it. Kobe,
I mean,
man, don't even get me started on that. And
Orlando
it's probably the best
The
thing that ever.
Orlando Magic,
Honestly, it
the
was probably the best
Orlando
thing that ever
Magic.
happened to him. Listen, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to him because I don't think Kobe's not losing to LeBron in the finals. That would
No,
look. I'm not look. I can't say things for certain, right? But I just don't see it. Kobe would take that personally.
I'm gonna be
Playing
honest
him in
with
the
you.
finals,
I have a
he would
conspiracy
be like,
theory.
"Oh, this is the nigga that they saying is better than me." Oh, okay.
I have a conspiracy theory about that though. You want to hear
Go ahead.
it? I think LeBron knew he wasn't gonna win against Kobe,
He's
and
probably right.
he threw that series. I think he knew he was not gonna beat Kobe in that finals if he got there, and he threw that series on purpose. Because if he had played Kobe in that series if they'd have beat Orlando and they played each other, Kobe would have ate that dude alive in the
Man,
finals.
listen. And that Orlando, hey, Kobe was going crazy that series.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of foul, just there's a lot of bad fucking pieces to his resume. Green culture, okay, now you're making up shit. No bag. LeBron ain't got no bag. I mean, what is this? What we're really talking about is ring culture. I feel like I'm at a goddamn fucking Von Mar. We're talking about bags and rings. What's next? Shoes? Belts?
Hey,
Is
let's
that?
be honest. We ain't even gonna talk about shoes because he ain't got the shoes either. He ain't
He
MJ
loses
got
on every
MJ the
fucking
only
part.
dad. MJ the
He's
only nigga hold on. MJ the only nigga I know that been retired 30 years damn near. And this nigga still got the biggest shoe and he ain't even playing.
That's how
He
you
got
know you're the
his
goat.
hold on,
Remember what I said?
dad.
Remember what I
His
said? That's how
shoe
you know you're the goat.
hold on, Dad. His shoe is bigger than Kobe, LeBron, Steph, and any other NBA player that got a shoe deal right now combined. Come
That's
on,
how
dog.
you know you are the
And
goat.
he's selling,
When they're
hold on, not
still
only that,
buying your shit
he's reselling the same fucking shoe. It's the same fucking
over
15
and
shoes
over and
over and
over
over
and
and over
over and
again.
over.
It's crazy. All they do is find a new color and shit, and then call it
And
fucking
motherfuckers flock
the
to it.
goddamn
And you know
the
who's the
Black
biggest?
Jesus threes or some shit
Yeah,
like that.
and you know who's the biggest? You know who the biggest fucking buyers of fucking Jordans are too?
Oh, man.
Fucking LeBron
You know what's
fans.
funny? I got a
You
homie on
chump,
Twitter.
you chump
I got a
motherfuckers.
homie on Twitter. He's a shoe head, right? And I'll be
Yeah,
like, he posted a picture of like all his shoes and shit, and I was just like, damn, it sure is a lot of Jordans in there. What are LeBron shoes?
you can't. Nobody
He's like,
buys
I
them
got a
shits.
few, I got a few over there. I'm like, nigga, I see a Jordan fucking jersey, fucking posters on the wall. All the fucking Jordans. I'm
Do
talking
you want
about
to know
every
why?
color,
Do you want to
every
know why?
fucking
You know why.
memorabilia. Like,
You know
nigga, is
why.
you a Jordan or a LeBron fan,
But
bro?
you know why. You know why. It's because
That shit
Jordan
funny.
is the fucking standard. He's the fucking
That shit
standard.
funny.
And you
That shit hella
motherfuckers
funny to
keep
me.
arguing for a motherfucker that you won't even go buy his own fucking shoes.
Nigga, Jordan, look, LeBron don't even wear his own shoes. That nigga be in Jordans all the time.
Didn't he say, I want to be able to wear, I want to be able to wear, I want to be able to wear this Nike, some Air
What?
Maxes,
I
some
tell you
Jordans.
what, I know one of them niggas ain't gonna never wear that nigga LeBron shoes. Jordan, you ain't gonna ever see Jordan in no fucking LeBron. Nigga, what?
Like I said, standard.
Ever. You will
He's the
never,
standard.
You will never see Jordan in no LeBrons,
You know,
bro.
you know what I'm waiting
Ever.
for. I said this last week, but I'm being honest. I'm waiting for somebody to say when the new guy comes into the league and they say, "Is this the next LeBron?" I'm waiting for somebody to say that shit because it's never happened in
They
22
kind of
years.
they kind of say it with Luca, but like Luca's only comparable to LeBron to me in terms of how heliocentric he is. That's
Yeah,
really because their games aren't really similar, like in
no.
terms of how they play. They're
Luca plays.
heliocentric, but
Luca plays a lot more
he's
like
got more of a
Harden,
yeah. That's the one. That's what I would say too. And not only that, Luca doesn't have the athletic ability that LeBron
and
did.
I don't think Luca's
So
body's gonna hold up long enough for him to do.
and even defensively, and he looks good right now though. I look
We'll
at
see,
like he posted he's lost it looked like he's lost a lot of weight, which is good.
which is good.
Keep it up. Keep it
Well,
up.
one of the other things will
New
make this.
management, new
Yeah, we'll
management, got new
make this quick.
ownership.
I was gonna
We
segue right into
all
it.
we
So,
need. That's all we need now. Kick that nigga LeBron out, and we
they
good.
might, and you never
We
know,
one
they
step
might,
away.
we'll
We
see.
one step
So,
away.
Lakers are now owned by. They have a new owner. The Buss family is no longer involved. Is that right?
Yeah, Mark Walton.
Yeah. So the Buss family is no longer own the fucking Lakers. I never thought that
That's
would happen,
great.
but
That was out of nowhere too. Like I was just on my phone one day, and then all of a sudden, oh, Jeannie Buss no is selling the Lakers for 10 billion.
yeah,
And you know what's funny? I got a question about that. So like, you know how he already had 20%, and then he bought it for 10 billion.
yeah.
Does that mean like they're actually worth more than the 10 billion that he actually paid since he already owned
Now if they're
20% of the
evaluated,
company?
no, they're it's evaluated at 10 point something billion, so that's probably what he gave. But
But he
I
obviously has more percentage that was already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, true. But I mean, I couldn't tell you what all the ins and outs are of it. But I will say this
right.
is just like with any other company. They're evaluated at a certain price. They have the ability to prove this is what they're valued at. This is why they can ask, this as a, sell price. And so if somebody's willing to give that to them, okay, so be it. So they were able to prove that. They were able to prove probably on a portfolio what they would make him,
Right.
coming years, this is that,
He
so
probably been
yeah,
eyeing us for years too, especially if he already had interest
probably
in the
so,
company and buying. Yeah, that's probably been in the works for years, to be honest with
probably
you.
so,
Especially if they agreed on it so quickly. So
yeah. So that means that the Buss family no longer involved in the LA Laker business. You will have new owners,
well,
and
I heard she's still going to be running like the team though.
probably so, but she's not an
That's what they
owner.
agreed on.
She's
Yeah,
not an
she's just not
owner.
an owner. Yeah,
So,
but she'll still be
uh,
running like the Laker operations and shit like that,
yeah.
I guess. So
I mean,
I
so
don't know.
they made a real good, profit off the Lakers, the
You know what
Buss
I'm
family did.
hoping? And I know this is probably like a minority. This might be a hot take for a lot of Laker fans. I hope they don't fire Rob Pelinka though.
You hope they
I
don't.
think I hope they don't. Because here's the thing.
A lot of
I
people
know
are calling for him to be gone.
yeah, I know a lot of people don't like him, but you got to think about the situation he's been put in, especially with having LeBron and the expectations that they've been.
True.
Bro, he's actually done a pretty good job in my opinion, considering the circumstances. Now, has he made some mistakes? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't argue with a nigga that got LeBron, AD, and then pulled off the heist and get Luca. Like you, like come on now. Like, I don't.
I won't
What?
say nothing. I won't say
Look,
nothing
I'm just
because
saying. And
I'm
look,
a
regardless of what y'all think the allegations are, god damn it, hey, that's all you can say. Yeah, I'm just saying. Who
yeah.
who you know has pulled some shit like that off? LeBron, AD, and Luca. What? Come on, man.
I mean,
Then he got Austin Reeves off the couch, undrafted. They've drafted well for the most part.
and got rid of
I
him.
think the Lakers draft really well, but they've been getting rid of players. But they've gotten really good, solid players that they haven't been able to all keep. But like
Yeah.
players that are contributing in other areas, like Alex Caruso,
Yeah.
fucking there's a
Got
plethora of other players
got
like
heart.
Julius
Got
Randle.
a heart in fucking
You
New
know what I'm saying?
York. There's other
Yeah, you got
guys,
Josh Hart. Yeah, they draft really well. Now are these guys like superstar players? No, but it's not like
no,
they got like
but they're
top
playing
three
it.
draft picks of the
They're
year. But
playing deep
they
into the
have home.
playoffs. They're
Yeah,
playing deep into the
exactly.
playoffs,
Some
and
are
that's all you can
champions.
ask for. Yeah,
Contavious. Now they didn't draft him, but he was really a nobody until he went to the Lakers,
yeah.
and then he turned into a two-time champion. So
They're playing deep into the playoffs, and that's all you can ask for is a guy to make a good run and contribute, coming either off the bench or starting to make it deep into the playoffs. That's all you can ask for. So I thought that was interesting. You brought it to my attention yesterday. I'm glad that we did touch on it. I think it's a good change. We'll
yeah,
see what
I think
happens.
Mark Walton, what he's done with the Dodgers and his whole philosophy in terms of like if he brings that to Laker culture, brings that back. Not that they've really lost it, but like I think they just need a change of ownership. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes change can do a
Yeah.
lot more good.
And he's done really well with the Dodgers too and the way they
So
run things. So
well,
yeah.
we're gonna sit here. We're gonna finish watching the rest of this game 6 between Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indianapolis Pacers. And right now,
Yeah, they have about
Pacers are
25
up.
right now.
Yeah, they're up right now. So we'll see how this ends. But as far as what we wanted to talk about tonight, I hope I got enough off my chest. Hey, LeBron fans, don't hate me. I'm just telling you my opinion. And if you don't like what I said, I don't. It's not that I don't give a fuck. It's just that I don't give a fuck. So,
Shut your ass. Well, they gonna come for your ass in the comments, man.
oh shit. But I'm just being honest. What else can I be? I'm a grown ass man. I got my own
Fucking
thoughts and
bad.
opinions. So simple as that. But we want to thank you guys for everybody that's always rocked with us. Anybody that has always supported us. Anybody who's always viewed our channels, who's watched our shorts, who's even left comments or, contributed to this channel in any way, shape, or form. We appreciate you guys, friends and family. It is always nice to see people who, on a regular basis, come and watch our channel and give us, feedback and tell us thank you, for doing this channel, or they say, hey, you guys keep up the good work. I enjoyed the show. We appreciate it. Whether it comes from, us just doing our sports takes, or if it comes from me putting together some type of, I don't know, some type of appreciation film for the Chiefs, anything like that. We just want to say thank you guys. We hope you continue to come back and help us create the channel the best way we can, and that is to be informative and to be inclusive. We'd love to have everybody, but we know that won't happen. But if you want to be a part of something that you can share your voice on, come on over. We would appreciate you, and we'll sure in the hell, let you come on and talk a little shit if you want to, just like us. So, for us here at the Cavecast, I'm Big Temp. That's Michael Flair. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. We out.